All right, let's talk about one of the most common and, let's be real, one of the most maddening household problems out there, the dreaded leaky faucet. But hey, don't worry. By the end of this, you're going to have the confidence and all the know-how to silence that drip for good.
Oh, you know that sound. We've all been there, right? Lying in bed, trying to sleep, and that's the only thing you can hear. It's a sound every homeowner knows and, well, doesn't love. But that little drip is way more than just an annoyance. It's actually a sign of a much bigger problem.
Okay, get ready for this number because it is genuinely staggering. The EPA estimates that a single faucet, just dripping once per second, can waste over 3,000 gallons of water in a single year. That is a huge amount of waste from one tiny, persistent leak. To put that into perspective for you, 3,000 gallons, that's enough water for more than 180 showers. So what we're going to do here is give you the knowledge to turn that constant annoying drip into a real DIY victory. You're going to save water, save money, and for sure, save your sanity.
Okay, first things first. You have to know what you're working with. You know, not all faucets are created equal, and figuring out your specific type is the absolute first step to getting this done right. So let's decode what's sitting on your sink. If you've got two separate handles that you really have to crank down to stop the water, you're looking at a classic compression faucet. It's the oldest design out there, but hey, the parts are cheap. Now the first single-handled models were ball faucets. They have a handle that pivots over a little dome-shaped cap. You'll still see them, but they can be a little tricky for a beginner because of all the small parts. Cartridge faucets are super common now. They feel much smoother. A quick half turn is all it takes. And then you have the newest tech, the ceramic disc faucet. You'll know it by its single lever and kind of chunky body. These things are built to last and are an absolute dream for DIY repairs.
Okay, so you've identified your faucet. Awesome. Now let's play detective and find the tiny little culprits that are causing these big headaches. So meet the O-ring. This little rubber ring is basically the faucet's tiny hero. It's responsible for making a watertight seal, but when it gets worn out from friction and age, water can just seep right past it. So here's the dead giveaway. If you see water pooling around the base of the handle itself, a worn-out O-ring is almost always your prime suspect. Now, for anyone out there with an older compression-style faucet, listen up because this is probably your problem. The washer is just a rubber disc that gets pressed down to stop the water. Over time, all that constant friction and pressure just wears it down, and that's what allows that classic drip, drip, drip from the spout. And this is where hard water can really, really cause problems. The valve seat is the metal connection point that the washer seals against. Well, over time, mineral deposits can corrode it, creating this rough, uneven surface. And once that happens, you're going to get a persistent drip, even if you put in a brand new washer. So you've identified the faucet, and you've got a pretty good idea who the culprit is. This brings us to the big question. Is this a simple repair, or is it time to just replace the whole thing? Let's look at the costs and figure it out. All right, let's talk money. A DIY repair is incredibly budget-friendly. I mean, you're looking at maybe $5 to $100 for parts and a few tools. On the flip side, calling a plumber, that'll run you somewhere between $100 and $300. But it comes with convenience and a guarantee. The risk with DIY, of course, is that you could make it worse. But for a simple washer or O-ring, the savings are pretty hard to ignore. So, when does a simple repair make sense versus a full replacement? Well, if your faucet is pretty new and just has a minor leak, a repair costing between $60 and $200 is the smart move for sure. But if your faucet is over a decade old, has a bunch of different leaks, or you can actually see rust and corrosion, investing in a full replacement for, say, $150 to $400 is probably the better long-term solution. All right, so you've decided to tackle this yourself. I love it. Let's get into the game plan. These are the universal steps that are going to apply to most basic faucet repairs.
Okay, let's walk through this. Step 1, and I cannot stress this enough, find those shutoff valves under your sink and turn them clockwise till they're snug. Step 2 is a pro move that'll save you a huge headache. Plug that drain. Seriously, you'll thank me later. For step 3, you'll probably need a small flathead screwdriver to gently pop off a decorative cap and get to the screw inside. Step 4, getting to the guts. You might want to wrap your pliers in tape to avoid scratching the faucet's finish. Now step 5, and this is the most important part, take the old, worn-out parts with you to the hardware store. Get exact matches. Do not guess. Finally, step 6, put it all back together, then turn the water back on slowly. Just a small trickle at first to check for any leaks before you declare victory.
Hey, congratulations! You fixed the drip. High five. But hold on, our work isn't quite done. Let's talk about preventing future problems and how to tackle a really common issue that pops up right after a repair.
So you've done it. You fixed the leak, you turn the faucet on for that victory rinse, and the water is just trickling out. Ugh, what happened? This is an incredibly common, super frustrating side effect, but don't panic. The culprit is almost always this little part right here, the aerator. See, when you turn the water supply off and on, all the sediment and mineral deposits that were just sitting in the pipes can get knocked loose. They flush out and get trapped in that tiny screen at the tip of your faucet, and bam, it's all clogged up.
The good news is the fix is unbelievably easy. Just unscrew the aerator from the tip of the faucet, take it apart, and soak all those little pieces in some white vinegar for about 30 minutes. That'll dissolve any mineral buildup. After a quick scrub with an old toothbrush and a rinse, you just screw it back on and your water pressure should be right back to normal.
And hey, to keep your faucets happy for the long haul, just remember these tips. Try not to crank down on the handles. Gentle pressure is all you need. Clean the outside regularly to stop buildup, and if you know you've got hard water, a water softener is a great investment for your entire plumbing system. You know, a little prevention really does go a long way.
So just remember, you haven't just stopped a leak. You've gained some serious skills and the confidence to take on a real home repair. You saved water, you saved money, and you brought a little peace and quiet back to your home. So the only question left is, what are you going to fix next?